Cool. So I guess to this week's episode on the Better by Next Week podcast is about belief and how we all use belief to motivate ourselves, be it for running or any other sports that we may do. We want to kind of, appeal to a broad audience and show them that, it's not just for running. But today we're going to have some really cool insights from international, runners. We're going to have our own insights, and we're going to kind of break down different forms of belief and the things that we think that are important in each one of those things. So,
yeah, well, some of those include you have belief in yourself, you got belief in the process, and you got belief in others, and all of these we value belief a lot.
Yeah, and I mean the simplest form of belief, because a lot of the time I think people will look at belief and go, what does it look like? He believes in himself or whatever it is. And I guess the simplest way I can describe it is if you and a friend are running up a hill and, it starts to get hard and, you might have a little bit more than your friend going up that hill and you can see them starting to struggle a little bit and they're just about to stop. And just before they stop, you turn around and say to them, oh, I believe in you. I believe you can take another 10 steps. And they do it. And then that's self-belief. That is you telling someone that you believe in them, and then they believe in themselves in that moment. And it's like it's probably the simplest way to describe what belief looks like.
I think it's funny because the idea of belief sounds so simple. It's like, oh yeah, you just believe in yourself. It's easy, but it's so difficult to kind of wrap your head around and actually be able to perform belief and belief in yourself. So a lot of people think it is very mental, and it is. It's completely mental. It's how you push through pain. It's how you push through difficulties, challenges. But it's so physical in terms of how you take that next step, and it kind of translates to that physical part of your body.
Yeah, and like I think beliefs like the foundation for your mindset, and we often talk about like a pyramid. And having the base of the pyramid has to be really, really strong. And a good friend of ours, Tom Dade, he talks about it in terms of for the physical. And I mean, we're going to cover that in the coming weeks about how, you build a good physical base for your running and things like that. But today, we want to kind of talk about how belief is the base of that pyramid. And, if you build a really, really big base, then it's strong. As you stack everything up on top of it, right, it becomes really, really strong. So I think that, going on from that, what's kind of the first thing that, when it comes to belief, when self-belief, what is it that you do to believe in yourself?
I remember at the start, because I have had issues in the past about belief and I really get down on myself about it, but sometimes and trust me on this, at the start, it's super cringy, but I often like to say positive talks like, oh, you got this, or I believe in yourself. And at the start, it's super cringy. And I'm like, why do I say that to myself? But now in those hard sessions, I look for those comments in myself because it pushes me on and it actually does make me believe. So you start out really small and it doesn't have to be big. It can be positive thoughts. But I guess also
that's a really cool way to actually stimulate your own self-belief system, because often you'll find that you're kind of out there on your own and you're like, oh, this is getting really, really hard.
Well, it's you against you.
Yeah.
And you're the only person that you have right there. You can't, no one else is going to come into the bush and go, oh, you got this, Ollie, you're going to crush this.
Well, I have called you in a backyard ultra and said, I'm going to quit. I've had enough. And, I didn't believe in myself.
I can say the same thing. But yeah, well, again, you build a support network around you, and that relates back into belief in others, because it's sometimes is difficult to be able to have self-belief in times where you're really, really struggling.
Yeah, because I find that in those times what you look for, you almost look for excuses to stop.
You can't.
That creates like a doubt mindset, and I think that doubt kills belief, and that's the one thing you've got to stay away from, because people tend to look for reasons to why things aren't working out, and I think that that's what kills your your belief. Like you'll be running and there are things, external factors that are happening. Your knees might be getting sore, you might be getting tired, and all those things are quite valid. But if you're able to focus on the positives and go, instead of, letting those things fester in you and go, oh yeah, I'm getting more tired. It looks like I'm about to stop. What you can do is you can take action. And by taking action, you keep that belief mindset going. So you could say, at the next aid station, I'm going to take half an hour break. I'm going to have a bit of a nap, or I'm going to eat this, or I'm going to change my shoes because I'm getting blisters. So, by taking action, you stave off that doubt mindset.
So going off of what you just said is I've been listening to a book called Win the Inside Game by Steve Magnus. And what he often refers to is this idea of choking. And the quote that I like is how he frames it as choking is a survival mechanism that our brains use. And what links to that is the predictive brain theory, where what happens is our brain is constantly predicting outcomes. And if those outcomes are negatively skewed, then it would often result in a decrease in performance. So an example of this is John Lester, and he used this in the book. So what happened is that because he had so many other external factors like social expectations, he actually lost the ability to be able to throw a baseball to first base. And this guy was a incredible Major League Baseball player. And is this when he first started? I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so he's come
he's come out of college, and it's this great prospect.
And he was just like dominating in college, yeah. And then he's gone into the big league, and then he's like,
all this expectation has been pumped on him.
Yeah, well, that's hard, and that's really hard for like younger guys, of course, I reckon. Yeah. And you see, I always say, there's people that I'll be talking to, and they'll be talking about football players and things like that, and they're always going, oh, he could be doing better, and oh, he stuffed this up, and people are on the sidelines yelling at people, and I'm like, these guys are just kids. These guys are just kids. They need self-belief. And, I remember when I was a kid and I would be playing footy, and I wasn't that great. I was a backman. And I remember one time coming into the huddle, and I wasn't sure myself whether, I was playing that well or not. And I've come in and the coach has gone, you know what? Did everyone see what Tim did on the wing over there? And I'm like, oh no, what did I do on the wing? And he goes, he tackled the guy. They got the ball out. It was second effort. They tackled him again. And I'm like, little Timmy's like, whoa! I was so freaking pumped, right? And I was like, I believe in myself. It was just an amazing way to, feel what belief felt like. And I reckon it's really important for parents and coaches out there to understand that, that encouragement, it's so important for people to have that self-belief so they don't choke, so they don't, those things don't happen.
Well, I think what we need to reinforce a little bit more is the idea that fitting in is the barrier to belonging. And I want to talk about how fitting in and belonging are different. So what happens in fitting in, we change ourselves and how we behave to fit the expectations of others, whereas belonging is being our authentic selves and letting other people choose if they want to associate with you.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really important because it's so important to be your authentic self. And that's where your belief comes from, being your authentic self.
Yeah, well, it's like this podcast. You can't script it. You've got to be your authentic self, or else you can't do what you need to do.
Otherwise, you're stuffing up every 5 seconds.
Every 5 seconds, and you can't.
Because you're trying to be someone you're not.
Yeah, that's right. I reckon that's a really cool way of looking at it, isn't it? Yeah. And it allows you to, when you're yourself, conversation flows nicer and all those kinds of things. And I think, self-belief is one of those things that, it's hard. And I think with experience, it gets easier. I often think, for guys who are younger, someone like yourself, you have this naivety. And you have, but what comes with that is this courage and this motivation, and there's no ceiling to what you believe you can do. But then older fellas like myself, we kind of look at what we've done in the past, and we might go, oh, I don't know about this next rate. Oh, that's a bit far. We've got to obviously try and stay positive in those times, but there's a lot that we can learn, like someone older can learn from someone younger to, just have a crack, have some blind faith. But then I think that there's a lot that younger guys can learn from, the experience of older guys, and that experience gives you self-belief because, I often look back and go, I'll be going into a race, and I'm tapering, and I'm like, I get really nervous. I'm like, oh no, is that a pain in my ankle or is that a pain in here? And they're just phantom pains, but it's just nerves. And then it'll be like, have I trained enough? Have I done enough? And it's all these little doubts that I'm putting in my head, and I'm like, and then what do? I reflect back on last time. I'm like, what happened last time when I was tapering? Oh, that's right. I was doing the exact same bloody thing, and it didn't help. And I think it's just nerves. And nerves are great too, because nerves mean that you really, really want that thing. And I think that, that experience, younger generation can learn. And I can definitely take so much away from, the naivety of a young guy, going all in at a race. And I'm like, that's epic. I want to have that, blind faith.
Well, that's what I mean. It's all about building that template.
Yeah, that's right. And there's, that's kind of the self-belief side of things, but, believing in others is awesome as well. Like, it's really important, like my football example, what ended up happening is that coach believing in me stirred up the self-belief in myself. So that I went out there and I went out and just crushed it because I'm like, I believe that I'm doing the right thing. And it's, that getting that feedback is really, really important.
Well, what I often find is that if I believe in someone and I see them crushing their goals, and that makes me think I can do that. Why can't I just apply the same concept that I'm talking to them to myself? And it's funny because we always talk about how we're always giving feedback to other people and advice to other people, but we don't actually take it. And it's funny.
Yeah, that's a real funny one. I hate that one. I often, and that's why, when someone comes to me for advice, I'm like, no, you do it, do this and do this and do this. So we all know the right things to do often, but we sometimes can't take our own advice, which is a bit silly. But, with self-belief, I think it's really important at times that parents and coaches make sure that with younger kids and stuff like that, that they, really encourage them, because there's preemptive. I think it's preemptive discouraging is what I'm trying to think of. So preemptive discouraging is a form of kind of discouraging, a younger person because of your own beliefs. So just say, for instance, you come to me and go, Dad, I want to be an NBA player. And I'm like, I don't know, Ollie, I don't think you're tall enough. I don't think you're this. I don't think you're that. Right. So that's preemptive, discouraging. And that's not great. I've almost got to let you, discover what it is that you love about, say, it's basketball or running or whatever it may be. And you may fail. You may fail yourself, and you'll come to that realization yourself. But it's important that I don't discourage you, because that discouragement can kind of quash your self-belief. And, so the opposite to that is almost letting you go and explore the world and, try and find what it is that you love doing, so that you find that your own self-belief in those things.
Oh, it's funny that you say that, because I can speak from experience, and what had happened at cross country this year, I didn't have the best result that I wanted. And what had happened is that we went in with a plan, and this is sort of comes back to you believing in me. And you've always believed in me.
I believe that you can, I believe that you were going to crush that.
And our plan was that for me to go out, run 340s, and even if that doesn't get me into the next round, it was going to be okay, because it was going to be a PB for a 5K.
Yeah.
But it's actually been interesting, because the course wasn't 5Ks, it was like 4.
Yeah. But the thing is, right, that we kind of put a plan in place so that you focused on that and didn't allow things that you couldn't control to enter that kind of space.
And that what had happened is that I got to a point where I was under pressure, and what I mean by pressure is that I was hurting, basically. And I got in my head too much, and I was starting to count down the people, because I could see runners in the distance, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 12, because 12 was the top amount of runners that would go through. And that's when I dropped the ball and lost the game there. And I remember getting back to you and I was so disappointed. But it's almost like what you said before, you have to let people explore and see their choices. And I feel like that's what you did to me in that moment because you knew what I had felt and there was no need. You knew that you didn't need to say something to me because you knew that
Yeah,
I need to
and I
explore.
don't want you to kind of beat yourself up about stuff either, because
Well, what had happened? We had a chat in the car and I got onto this book.
yeah,
And
that's right. Yeah, and then you ended up reading the book and then having a bit more of understanding what those moments feel like. And I mean, choking is like a really I don't like the word choking because it is a pretty nasty kind of
it is
word.
nasty.
It's
What in if we translate it to running, for instance, is that I find for me choking is that everything just feels heavy, and I'm just legs are heavy, arms are heavy, and I just can't get moving. And then on top of that, if you have in your head, oh, I'm really heavy, I'm not moving, I'm gonna stop, and that's what had happened with 800 meters to go, but little I'd have known it was 300 meters to go because it was
a little bit shorter.
Little bit shorter.
But do you reckon that in that moment, like the weight of your own expectations was kind of quashing your belief a little bit as well? So,
well, I did go into that with a really high expectation.
but it's funny because on the way there, we talked about you running a certain pace and you were happy with that.
Yeah.
But then you were kind of expecting to get through to the next round, and then you're like the plan of what pace you're going to go.
Pressure.
Yeah, the pressure and the expectation. And yeah, it's funny because Steve Young mentions all that in his book, and you kind of felt that on that day, which is crazy. But talking about more about like believing in others and good places to kind of see that unfold is like run clubs, park runs, and you kind of feel that energy as well. How often do you see, you go for a run at park run and person's kind of starting to struggle and you say, oh, keep going, you're doing great. And they think, I really wanted to stop, but I'm going to keep on going. And they keep on going and they keep on going. And then you see them at the end and they're like, thanks heaps.
Well, that's
really
one thing that I really don't notice too much in the younger community is that there's no like I'll always do it. I'll always see if I see a younger runner, I'll say, good on ya, keep going. But I never notice anyone else do it. And it's more of the older community that's kind of motivating others to keep going.
But do you think, going back to what I said about older runners and experience and then younger runners and a bit of blind faith, like from there, younger runners may not even have enough experience yet to understand what belief in others even looks like, because they're still seeking belief for someone to believe in them.
Or not even that. They're still trying to find belief in themselves.
Yeah,
they're too busy worrying about themselves, which is a completely fine.
Yeah,
because that's what. At the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you.
Yeah, and they're on that journey, and often, because you see it, like I see it in you. I'm like, oh, he's not believing in himself, and I don't need you to tell me, oh, Dad, I believe in you, because you know that I've kind of got that inbuilt self-belief, and that's where it's important for me to keep nurturing that. And what people, I gave off the top of the show, I kind of gave the example of the two mates going up the hill. And, to expand on that, in terms of, belief in others, you can, if you've got a friend that's, kind of just starting out and they've got these big dreams, say to run 100Ks, it's really, really difficult to show them how to believe in themselves when the goal is so massive and they're starting at the start. But it's those little seeds every single day. You go, they go and run 2Ks and you go, oh, awesome job running that too. On Strava, you see it all the time. I'm always, commenting on other people's posts because I know how good it feels when someone, says something to me, great run or whatever it may be, because I'm on a journey. I'm on a journey to
But does it sometimes, like, if you're pumping someone else up, doesn't it pump you up?
Yeah, 100%. Because then you know what? I always look at it like this. On something like Strava, where you see everyone going out and they're crushing runs and all that kind of stuff. You go out and you go for a 5K run that you ran really hard or whatever it is. I'll even see people that for the first time run 1K or 2K, or someone, it pops up on Strava and says, hey, your friend, so-and-so hasn't ran for a little while, and you see him do a 5K run and you're like, you know what? Like, I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to go out for a run and be, exhausted, and you finish that run and I'm like, I am exhausted. On Strava, it's just a number, but there's a feeling behind that. So you reach out to that person and say, great run, because you know how that feels, and then that pumps them up, and then they're more likely to go, you know what, that's great feedback. I'm doing some awesome work. I love this. So I think trying to motivate people in that way day by day, right? It really helps them achieve that goal. And over a long period of time, over a whole journey, what you'll find, and the most beautiful thing is that you'll find that aha moment where it clicks for that person is when they finally believe in themselves. And sometimes, it takes, a few occasions for that to happen. And when they hit their goal, it's a process. But when they hit that goal and they believe in themselves, it's like they've got this newfound like belief. Is oh my God, where did that come from? Because you don't know something until you've done it. You don't know until you know.
Well, people talk about that breakthrough moment for a runner, and although it might be belief might be overshadowed by physical performance, I feel like that breakthrough moment is really about that belief in that runner.
Yeah, and you know what? And then they take that belief and it just snowballs. It just snowballs into the next thing and into the next thing, and then into the next thing. That's
sort of the theory I had a little bit about it, was that why do we often look at elites and see how they perform really well? It's because they have this belief, and that's because it's compounded over years and years and years and years, and they just believe. And you look at beginners and they don't have so much belief, and that's why they're not performing as good as the elites. Granted, it's physical. There's other
But do you think that those elites had people around them that helped them with that belief process? Like, just to go, you know what, you're doing the right job, you're doing this, you're doing that. And, we'll kind of let's talk about, believing in the process, right? I think that's a huge thing as well, because because this is almost like what I spoke about, encouraging someone to, every single day, and then they kind of get to there and then they finally believe in themselves. But in that moment, you know what they start to do as well? They start to believe in the process that it took to get there.
Well, you start looking back, it's like, I was even talking to you this morning, so I went for a run, and it was awesome because you kind of get this euphoric moment where you're running through, it's all foggy, I got music in, and I was thinking about it, I'm like, gee, 3 years has just gone by so fast. And now all of a sudden I'm actually starting to believe, and I had a hard effort at the end, and majority of the run I was thinking about, am I going to be able to hit the split? And I believed, and I went out there and hit the split. And it's like that process it goes by so fast, and it can be so daunting at the start, but if you just keep at it consistent. And what I found at the start was that my belief wasn't as strong, but what I did was, like, it sounded cringy, and it was a little bit cringy, and I never really liked talking about it to myself, and I never shared it to any of my friends because I thought it was so cringy and it was the worst thing ever. But positive self-talk and positive reinforcement, like, you got this, Ollie, and because it sounds kind of petty in a way, but
no, it's not petty. It's not petty. It stirs up your own self-belief. So it's like you've got this little self-belief generator inside you that goes, all right, we're dropping off here a little bit. We've got a little bit of doubt. All those things are creeping in. We got to fuel that generator and then create some self-belief, and that's how you're doing it.
Well, now in those hard workouts, that's what I seek for. That's what I desire, those comments that I need, and that really fuels me and pushes me through the next lap or kilometer. And that's one thing I really want younger generations to understand, is that if it's cringy, it doesn't matter if it's cringy, because it works, and trust me, it pays off. It really does pay off. And I was interested to see how you deal with your own belief and how you kind of built it up.
It's funny, before I did Down Under, before I DNF'd at Down Under, I thought I was
invincible.
Yeah, almost invincible. No,
not arrogant. But
I thought, no, but see, I often look at See, I race when I race or do anything like that. I race only for myself. If the byproduct, if I have a good performance and I have a win or I make a top 10 or whatever it may be, that's just a byproduct. Because I always believe that running and the things that I put into running, it's I'm not playing the lottery. I'm not buying a lottery ticket and going, oh, I hope I win, because it's not. It's never a lottery. It's the hard work that you put in. It's the years of practice. It's all those things that allow you to have a good performance. So there's no point in whatever happens will happen. But in terms of belief, like I always have this really strong belief in my ability to keep going. But you know where I get it from? I get it, like I said, from all my experience. So only recently have I gone into a race. I'm like, I'm going to finish that. I'm going to finish this. I'm going to finish that. And why? It's because I've finished it before. Because I know that I've done this. I know I've put in the hard work. So all my belief comes from that. Very rarely would I, you named it as being cringy. I don't think that it's cringy, but very rarely do I say to myself, you've got this, Tim. Come on, you crush it. But what I do that's similar is I almost use like a mantra. It's like, you're built for this. You're built for this. You're strong. You're built for this. I remember going through a down under, going through Old River, through the creek, and I got sick of it. I got sick of it in my head.
Old River is just rocky. You're walking the whole thing.
It was the worst part of the course. And I got sick of my own mantra going, you've got this, you've built yourself for this, you've got this, you've built yourself. So I chanted that for almost 2 or 3 hours because I was in absolute agony. But that was the only way I could. Yeah, it got me through, and that was the only way I could stir up belief, which was, it's hard because that process. It's really hard, and I had a really, really good conversation with a friend I went for a run with during the week about belief, and I think he kind of mentioned, the believing in the process and how it can waver, because often you can find that you believe in this process. So in the past you might have done something and then you go and do it exactly the same and you don't get the same outcome, and you're like, that's where you can go, oh my God, I don't believe in that process anymore. And it's like, I don't know, you're lost. So where do I take it from here? So. And I was like, because I didn't really think of it like that. But then I had a bit more of a think about it. And maybe that failure that, you thought, I did this process, then I did this event, and it didn't work out. And then you're like, oh, I've lost faith in it. But the thing is that event might only be a stepping stone. And you've got your expectations of, that thing leading to this outcome may not be what the actual outcome is. The outcome might be in a year's time, you go and crush a different event. So it's all a stepping stone. So believing in the process is also a little bit of blind faith in the process, that you've got to understand that if you don't quit and just keep going, that the outcome will come.
Well, I want to link it back to what I said before about the elites and how they've believed in the process the whole time, and they've built themselves up to this massive person. And I want to make it clear that sometimes even the elites have down moments. Even the elites have to go off path. Like what you did at Down Under. You're like, oh, you finished it 2 times before. But the 3rd time you didn't. Why? It's because maybe you overestimated yourself a little bit. Yeah. Maybe you undertrained a little bit. And that's sometimes fueled by social expectations. And that's where some people can get lost. So it's not just these beginners or these amateurs or these people who are just running for fun. It can be the elites.
Doubt can crush your belief a lot. And I think, like you said, the social expectations. And you know what? They don't even exist. I'll be honest with you. A lot of those expectations, they don't exist. They're all inside our own head.
Yeah, it's not the social expectations. It's what you make those social expectations.
Oh, like, I mean, I'm terrible for, making myself, feel bad about, how I'm going about something. I don't need anyone to tell me that, they're disappointed or they this. So those things, I do enough of that myself when I, have a DNF or anything like that.
Well, it's funny because you'll often catch me, I'm more upset than what Dad is about his DNF at Down Under. I'm like, no, please, no. Because what had happens is I was sitting there, and obviously Mum's there for empathy, and you got all the crew people,
support.
What do you call the people at
volunteers
at the aid stations, and they're all there and they understand, and it's like I almost feel what you feel in that moment, but I'm like, no, he can't get out there.
No, you do. Because you know what? Because you know how bad I want it.
I know how bad you want it, and I feel like, and this isn't putting anyone else down because they don't understand you, and this ain't saying anything against mum, but I feel like it's like I know how bad you want it, and I want you to succeed, and by seeing you there in that chair and you're not going to get up, it crushes me.
Yeah, but it's funny because you say, mum's there for empathy, but that's
You need that.
Yeah, but that's you
Yeah.
showing empathy for me
Yeah.
because you know how badly
in a
I
different
want-
way.
In a different way.
Except I'm saying, Dad, get your ass out.
Yeah, but sometimes you need a little bit of tough love as well.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll segue into something that I'm super excited today because we reached out to some amazing athletes and just to see what their belief philosophies were and how they use belief to drive them forward and their successes in life. And I spoke to Lucy Bartholomew, who
Ooh, big name.
big name. She is one of the best ultra runners that Australia has ever produced, and she started out running when she was super young, like you, with her dad. And I remember running my first half. Yeah, it was my first half marathon. And it was like a trail series one. And I remember seeing her there and I'm thinking, this girl is so young. How is she doing this? She was incredible. And she went on to win Surf Go Century at the age of 17, right,
That's
in
incredible.
9.5 hours,
that's
which
incredible.
was crazy. Right, she's won UTA. She's finished top 10 at UTMB. She's competed in Western States. We could do a whole episode on Lucy. She's an incredible runner, right? But she was so nice and, to kind of share her insights. And, some of the things that she spoke about were, how her experiences have kind of molded her self-belief. So she talks about, those experiences allowing her to say, I can do it. I can do it. And then, but even if I can't, I'm going to try. And I'm like, that was pretty awesome. And she also spoke about, social media being a really cool place to look for motivation and self-belief because there's all these people out there just crushing it and it just motivates you. And she's such an amazing advocate for, women in sport as well and she leads by example. One quote that she left us with was, what your mind believes, your body achieves. And I was like, oh, yeah, man.
That's true.
That's so true because it's all about belief. And, we're super grateful that Lucy, kind of shared her insights because I think there's so much to learn from that. And especially for you as a young guy that, seeing her, like me talking to you about her journey when she was young and how she moved through everything. And, yeah, she's an amazing athlete.
Well, I reached out to someone too.
Oh, yeah? Who did you reach out to?
So I reached out to Hans Troyer, which some people might not know. He's a really young, up-and-coming runner, and he's recently participated at Western States and placed 8th. But he's had other little events that he's done really well in. And what had happened was...
I don't know if they're little events, but...
Actually, no. His documentary that came out, I've watched that 5 times. I'm not even joking. And it goes for like 40 minutes. And it actually really tells a good story about him and how he's overcome. Like I remember how he had trained and trained and trained for this event and got sick and then couldn't. And so what happens is there's 3 chances for a golden ticket. I believe the 3 races are Javelina 100. You have Black Canyons and you got Canyons. So what had happened is he didn't compete in Javelina. He went to compete in Black Canyons, but got sick. And then had to obviously have 1 race left, which was Canyons. And he ended up placing 3rd there. And top 3 get a golden ticket into Western States. So I think that really explored his journey really well. Anyways, that was a little bit off topic and a little bit more about Hans. But he's just an incredible young runner that I look up to because I often, when I look at runners, I want to relate to them because I don't get to be around people other than you or other young runners that I get to relate to, and it gives me this feeling that I'm like, yeah, and I can relate to Hans so much because I feel like he's just this kid that just wants to run. And even that Black Canyon, no, it was at one of his races where he didn't even know Hayden Hawks, who's an incredible runner, and he just went out and just wanted to run.
Yeah, that naivety that we talked
The
about.
naivety, and it's incredible. That was a little bit more about Hans, and I'll get to what he said. So I had asked him what he thought about belief, and it's funny because we broke it up into different forms, and often people might think it's just belief is one whole thing, but it isn't, and it can be expanded on any ideas. So he came back to me with 3 ideas about belief. So it's belief in self, belief in the team, and belief in faith. So in belief in self, he often is motivated by the hours and hours and hours of work. So when he's in a race, and most of these bits of advice were related to races, but you can apply the same concept to training. And it was the fact that he reflected on in his race, there was these hours and hours and hours and hours of training, and he believed in himself that he could get out and keep running just based off of those hours that he had put in. And
because he just self-reflected, and he just goes, you know what? If I know if I put all this work in, then I'm going to get this, epic outcome.
Yeah. And the second was belief in the team. So all these people around him, he said that he had a really supportive wife, supportive family, supportive sponsors even, and that was really important for him because they're there for him. And I guess in a way, that's how we want to build up this podcast, because we believe in anyone who's listening.
Yeah. I reckon that's a really cool way to look at it, and that's believing in others, because he's built this amazing support network of people going, we believe in you, Hans, we believe, and then that pumps him up and pumps up his self-belief.
And we completely understand that sometimes it's hard to find other people to build a support network, but probably
run clubs.
That's
the thing. You go to run clubs. You go to we don't have too many people because we kind of live out on a farm, out in the sticks kind of thing. So,
but even that, we have people, we have friends, we have people that message us, we have Strava.
Yeah.
But for those people who might struggle to find a supportive network, we're always there for them. We're always going to believe in people.
Yeah, that's right. And all you have to do is just reach out to us.
Yep.
But yeah, so did Hans have anything else to say?
Oh yes, he had belief and faith, obviously.
Yep.
So people can have different mantras. Like I know for us, we have everything happens for a reason, for instance. And Hans was religious, obviously, and he believes that God has a path for him. And even just that in his mind, and that during a race, he just, it's almost like that journey.
Yeah.
Right? It's like whatever journey I'm on, it's the right journey.
Yeah, there is. And, the last person that we kind of reached out to, and is a fan favourite of mine, is Frank the Tank Gillen.
Oh, we love Frank the Tank.
Frank the Tank's pretty awesome. And for anyone that doesn't know who Frank the Tank is, he is a Belgian ultra runner, and he just recently ran 900 kilometers in 6 days, which is nuts. But he's also part of the Belgian team who won the Backyard Ultra World Championship, and they actually broke the world record at 110 hours, which is like 700.
And that was last year, yeah?
Yeah, that was last year. That's 700 plus kilometers, which is absolutely nuts. And his thing about belief was really cool. He believed that, belief is his fuel. It helps him adapt. It makes him tough. But the biggest thing that I got from him, which was really, really cool, is that, it helps you see that, every impossible distance isn't just a challenge, but it's 1,000 ways to get, to keep going further. And I'm like, that's a really good way to look at it. So he uses belief to problem solve the situation that he's in. So he goes, I believe in this journey. I believe it's making me stronger. It's my fuel. It's a really almost like a tough, gritty mental approach to belief, which I thought was which was really cool. And we really appreciate those three.
Yeah, we
have
to
those
thank
three.
them.
Yeah, those three.
They're both all incredible
us.
runners, all inspirational.
Yeah,
and it's cool to get ideas from 3 completely different, not people, but how they approach running.
Yeah.
So you got Frank, who's obviously the longer distance person. Then you
a little
got
bit older, like
Lucy,
me.
who's a female, and then you got Hans, who's up and coming.
Yeah, that's right.
So
and
it's awesome to get 3 different perspectives.
But it was funny. I think all their perspectives were all based around the journey of the belief and how they do things, which is really, really cool. I was super grateful that they got back to us and we were able to talk about those things. So All right. So I guess let's bring this one across the finish line, Ollie, and let's talk about our Better by next week challenges for each other.
So do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go
I'll
first?
go. I'll go first.
Okay.
I'll go first. So I've got a really cool challenge. So my Better by next week challenge for you this week, Ollie, is something I call "I'm not done yet." So what I would like you to do is that at the end of your sessions runs, I would like you to, not during your run, but towards the end of it, right near the end, I want you to think of something that you can do more. So, so for instance, it might be an extra rep. It might be an extra, an effort for the last 500 meters that you weren't planning on doing. I want you to do maybe an extra hill rep or anything like that that makes you that little bit better to see whether you've got a little bit more in the tank. Because often we'll finish training
You limit
sessions.
yourself?
Yeah, so sometimes you can limit yourself because you've told yourself, I believe that I can do this, but I want you to believe that you can do this and a little bit extra. So for you and the viewers, I'd like them to, try that challenge.
That's awesome. So my Better by Next Week challenges for you is I want you to write down three negative thoughts or any negative thoughts that you come to mind with in terms of running and how you feel about yourself. And by the end of the week, I want you to have enough evidence to be able to prove that thought wrong. So you pick one of those thoughts, and I want you to be able to gain enough evidence from that week to be able to prove that wrong. And what I think is really important and cool about this is that it's different for everyone. So people might lack in one thing where someone else might not. So it can change for different people. So it'd be awesome to see the viewers and see how they can prove themselves wrong with evidence at the end of the week.
Oh, that's cool. So it's almost like just looking for good feedback to...
So it can even be like, I'm not fast enough, or I can't get up hills, or I'm not a very good runner.
And so during the session,
prove that wrong.
Oh, wow. So no matter what, you have to prove that wrong.
And it's cool because it gets you thinking about belief and
it gets you thinking about how to become better.
And it can it can change each week because you can have different negative thoughts for each week to prove wrong, and that just builds that belief up.
Oh, I really like that one. That's a really good one. I like
so
that
in
one.
a similar light, it's kind of yours.
Yeah, no, but that's cool. I'm looking forward to trying that. But so this week, you had me for my Better by Next Week challenge to, it was all about telling myself it's the best bit during a run to see if it can, motivate me or to...
I'm interested to see how you went here.
Well, you know what? I did it a few times and I thought it was pretty powerful. I had one session where I started to really struggle. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to back off a little bit here because, it's getting a little bit tough. And then I'm like, no, but this is the best bit. This is, you've worked yourself to this point to have an opportunity to do the best bit, which is going to be all the growth. And I end up doing, not only did I do the opposite to what I was going to do, which was going to be kind of back off and quit, I ended up actually pushing harder because I'm like, this is the best bit. Yeah. Now I want more. And I actually got hungry for that growth and it was amazing. It was crazy. So we had a heap of people also reach out to us to...
It's incredible. It's
tell
awesome
us,
to see.
Yeah, to tell us how they went. And a lot of them found the same thing. It wasn't only after the fact that they felt like that was the best bit, they actually felt that during it made them stronger and made them push harder. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what we want.
So my Better by Next Week challenge that you gave me from last week was called time stamping. And on one of my runs was that earlier on in the run, I would think, okay, I would like to feel this way then, or I would like to be there right now. And it would just be just before the end of the run. And for this specific workout was that I did a steady run the whole way around and I was struggling a little bit. But where I time stamped it was that the last 3 kilometers was a hard effort and I time stamped it right in the middle of the 3 kilometers.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'm like, and I knew that I was gonna be hurting. And when I got to that 1.5 of the 3 kilometers left, I'm like, you wanted to be here. and it almost spurred me on to keep going. So I thought that's how that really motivated me and growth and really pushed me to keep
Oh,
going.
that's cool. Yeah, we had a couple of people reach out to us and talk about timestamping and how they're going to use it. A lot of people talked about, it being a perfect approach in backyard ultras. I've got a friend that's doing a 100-kilometre race this weekend. They were going to use it for that race as well. So I think it's a really cool way of, motivating yourself when it gets tough. So, but yeah, I guess, we'll kind of wrap this one up today. I reckon it's been, it's a pretty in-depth topic when it comes to belief, but I think it lays down the foundation for where we're going to go from here. So I'd really like to thank a lot of the people that reached out after our first episode. Some of the comments, almost brought me to tears. Like how motivated some people felt. The
fact that people are inspired by us inspires me.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? It actually inspired me to even put more effort into this week's episode.
Getting everything right.
Yeah, and like I really want. I hope that kind of comes across to where we really want to. Bring our insights and other people's insights to this, to the trophy room, and so we can kind of nut it out and we can, build it together. Because, some of the people that reached out, they were going to go and give their first park run a go. I'm like, oh my God, someone's going to give it. Well, I had a friend yesterday tell me that they were late to work because they listened to our podcast and they went out on their mountain bike and just went and crushed it, and they were late to work, and we were the reason they were late to work. And I'm like,
sorry,
no, I'm like, no way. I'm like, and you know what? It makes you chuffed. And then even we had a gentleman reach out, and some of the things that he said were just, they were just amazing. Like he spoke about not only was the podcast motivating, but just the way we kind of, brought it together, which is a really nice thing, because, it is about the content that we bring in
it's
terms
nice
of
to get
running.
Clarity around what we've built.
Yeah. And I hope that we kind of sell the philosophy of, we're just trying to work it out together, and, we may not always get it right, but
even like, I can't tell you how many times we've had to stop and start. For me personally,
yeah, because at the start sometimes it's really hard to get going because we're so nervous at the start.
Because you want to get it right, but sometimes, as I said, by being perfect, or by trying to be perfect, you're not going to get it perfect.
Yeah, that's right. It's imperfect. There's imperfection. So, but yeah, I guess we'll wrap it up there. And I'm pretty pumped for next week's episode as well. So that's going to be more about strength. So it's more the running side of things, but. If everyone can like, subscribe, comment, join in on the challenge every week. We love your feedback. If you don't want to post on any of our socials, just reach out to us in a message. That'd be awesome. It really helps us. Yeah, and because we're on YouTube, Spotify, we're on all those platforms, and the more people that like and even rate, it helps people be able to have, this is a fairly well rated podcast. I might actually listen to this, and we want people to hear the insights of others and our insights. Essentially, all we're trying to do is just grow the community bigger, and all those things help. So awesome podcast, and I can't wait for next week. Great work. See you later. See ya.